What's up, everyone? Welcome to the 168th episode of the Pokemon Podcast. My name is SBJ, and we are recording part 2, but you'll never hear part 1 because it was lost forever this morning. But I am here today with Travis.
Yeah, I was going to say, you had that failed experiment without me. You know, this morning you tried to record, and it all fell apart. I wonder why. Probably because I wasn't there. That's all I'm saying is, when things go wrong, you just come crawling back to me.
What's funny is last week we also recorded without you, and we got that episode ruined too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me that story.
Yeah, it was. So I recorded on, I think, the Thursday before C2E2, just in case something went wrong. We had really, it was just to make sure we had 4 episodes for the month. And we recorded with Sean from Australia. He was a Kickstarter backer who we'll have to re-record with. It was Saul and Sean. We recorded the whole thing, and I didn't look at it till Friday because we recorded on Thursday night, which is weird. And the audio, Saul sounds perfect, and then me and Sean.
And Saul is always perfect.
Well, of course. Me and Sean just sound like we're like recording in like a bathroom stall. Like, you make out every word we say. It just doesn't, like, I wouldn't want anyone to sit through an hour of that, especially because we're such a premier podcast. For fans.
That's a good joke.
Yeah. So Will Melanie, another Kickstarter backer, like I said before, the month of Kickstarter backers, recorded a great 1.5-hour podcast this morning. We were using,
oh man, the bar is set for me now.
We were using this new software. I have a new microphone. You're actually using a new microphone.
I am.
It's like all this equipment that came out of nowhere, and it only recorded me, and it didn't record them. So there's just,
it's all you need.
It's just an 1.5 hours of like me saying something and then silence and then me laughing and then more silence.
I would listen to that.
It's really so apologies to both Melanie and Sean. They are
not to Will or Saul, though.
No. They are fantastic guests, and now they have to re-record. I mean, they get the benefit of waking up early on a Sunday and recording again, but they get that luxury of recording twice. So I feel really bad now. I didn't want to not give you guys an episode, so here are Travis and I on a Sunday night. We're going to record a quick episode.
The B team.
We're going to record a quick episode, put it out. There was some Pokemon news. The middle part of our show that was lost was really Melanie's thoughts about Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire and stuff like that. So there won't really be a middle segment here, but we'll still just we'll wrap up with just Pokemon of the week, and then we'll save our item of the week till next week. That is if everything.
That'll be the item of next week.
Is if this podcast actually makes it through the end. So before we jump into news, I was at C2E2 this past weekend, and C2E2 was gracious enough to give me a bigger room this year. The room held about 400 people. Room last year held about 300, and we filled it up. And we didn't quite fill it this year. We filled it a little more than half. I think we didn't fill it mostly because there was a Game of Thrones panel at the same time in the next room over to ours. And their line was real long.
Yeah.
And I think the Game of Thrones panels had like 2 people from the show Game of Thrones. So I guess that's fair.
Did people come to your panel thinking that you were like a Pokemon?
I had one guy at the end of my panel ask me if I worked for Pokemon. And I said no. And I thought at the beginning of the panel, I said
I listened to it, and you said you had no affiliation, but
yeah, I made a couple good jokes. How did you listen to the C2E2 show from start to finish?
Yeah, I enjoyed it when it was about 20 or so minutes in, or maybe even less, and you're like, well, that's all I have, time for questions. I was like, oh no, Steve has to tread water but then I forgot that Pokemon fans are always willing to run their mouths, as we do, week in and week out. And so it ended up being quite a good show, a really good Q&A section.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it this year. I thought the questions actually were really well asked.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of like, what do you think about Ash being 10 years old forever? Kind of questions. No, the crowd was really great.
Do you think Ash is in what do you think of the coma theory?
And I brought a couple people up on stage. It was the first year I did that, and that seemed to be really funny. Funny nonetheless. Maybe to me, maybe not to them, but yeah, it was a good show. C2E2 was my overall impressions of C2E2 is it was very, very much the same as last year. Like,
Yeah.
same kind of, it's kind of like the Midwest Gaming Classic problem where you're like starting to get the same vendors and like the same layout, and it's like, oh, Artist Alley's always over here, and then in this corner by this window is like the same booth that's just pumping electronic music, and they've been here for 5 years pumping the same music, selling the same stuff, pop figures everywhere.
And I'm sure that's an issue that they're probably very conscious of, because for so much of their audience are returning guests. And so they obviously want to be able to provide the same experience for those people, but also paradoxically provide a completely unique experience so that they're not shocking anyone who was there last year.
Right.
And, oh, what happened to the Pokemon panel? But they also don't want to shy away too much. Yeah. Or they don't want to do exactly the same thing and have people get bored.
Yeah. As like somebody who's been there for 5 years now, it's almost like I want like new stuff to see, and there was a couple newer booths that I never saw, but at the same time, I didn't like really. I think I missed a couple aisles this year. I just kind of rushed through it. I don't know if that would have helped or not helped, but it was just like, especially when on Sunday when I was about to record, I usually don't like to like mingle or like hassle or haggle at booths. I just kind of want to focus on presenting. But yeah, it was a good show, and obviously you can listen to that on iTunes or SoundCloud, and you can listen to this episode if we don't end up losing it by the the end of the recording. So we got some news for you guys. The what was funny is I got a couple things wrong during the C2E2 panel, as always. I mean, especially when you're up in front of people and you're being put on the spot.
I don't think I caught any.
The funniest thing was when I was like, I wonder what new Pokemon they're going to add to Pokken tournament. And somebody was like, Gengar's already been added, and I was like, oh, I didn't know that, and I found out that Gengar was literally announced like 2 hours before the panel started.
Oh, really?
And I kind of got like berated that I didn't know that. So that's our first bit of news: is Gengar is the latest Pokemon to join Pokken tournament.
I'm confused. I thought that in Japan that it was already released.
It comes out this summer, actually.
Oh, okay.
So Gengar is a part of the lineup. The current lineup right now is Pikachu, Machamp, Lucario, Gardevoir, Blaziken, and Suicune. And of course, Gengar just got added. Now, Pokken Tournament will be released in arcades this summer in Japan.
Right.
No Wii U version confirmed, no console version confirmed, no US confirmed. You got to get yourself to Japan and find yourself a good old arcade machine. Drop a couple, I don't know the currency in Japan. Drop some yen up in that arcade machine and then call it a day.
I know there's a lot of those arcade-only Pokemon titles that we don't get. Isn't there a whole complicated one where you get weird discs, like pucks that like discs that have information for your team on? That is fascinating.
Yeah, I actually have one of those discs and a disc reader. I bought it at some convention. It was like $5, but I've never even opened it. Yeah, I mean, so this game's running on the Tekken fighting engine,
right?
Tekken usually comes out on PlayStation, Sony consoles. Not even the slightest if this is ever going to come to Wii U, let alone America. But it's exciting. Gengar's pretty cool.
I wouldn't rule it out. There's so much clamoring here for it. Every Pokemon fan I know is like, oh man, we better get Pokemon tournament. I wouldn't.
Yeah, especially with the success of Smash Brothers.
Right. I guess it would be sort of would be a little bit of a surprise, but I wouldn't rule it out completely, is I guess what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. It would be like a nice fall title, even if we don't get like a 3DS Pokemon game or something, because we're already in May and there has been no rumors or rumblings of that. And usually we get that by March, as early as March, as late as April, we usually get something. And now we've got nothing for a new 3DS game or 4DS game or new 3DS game.
Old new 3DS. Imagine if they made another 3DS model,
the newer
before the next one, so that the one that we now call the new 3DS has to be the old new 3DS XL.
Yeah, they I guess, I mean, I feel like Nintendo loves to copy Apple, because the only other thing that has that bad of a naming convention was the iPad, where they literally called the third iPad the new iPad.
Did they really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the iPad 2, and then the new iPad.
My gosh.
And then it was the iPad with Retina display was the fourth one. So I don't know. It's just not a good name.
When does the new iPad 3D XL come out?
The iPad XL.
The Pokemon limited edition new iPad 3D XL.
Coming to stores this summer. All models will have Pokemon Shuffle downloaded, pre-installed. Pokemon Shuffle, speaking of that game, it recently hit 3.5 million downloads.
Wow.
And in celebration of said 3.5 million downloads, Celebi is being offered as a stage to do and to catch if you complete the stage.
Is Celebi only offered for a limited time? Oh!
Yeah, I think only like a week or two. For a limited time, the mythical Pokemon Celebi appears. I'm not sure when it leaves, but if you actually May 18th, it's right here on the article. So you can get Celebi and Pokemon Shuffle till May 18th. When you beat Celebi for the first time, you'll get 1,000 coins. And there was something else I was doing with this. Oh yes, as of I think Friday, Mega Banette just got added as a challenge stage. So that is where it's a competition. So the top 20,000 people in America that rank will get a Mega Stone for Banette. So you can get Mega Banette. And that goes for I think that goes for a full week. So that should end on Friday.
Mega Banette or Banette, I never know which one to say. That's one of my favorite Mega designs, just in terms of visuals. I think it's so cool looking.
Yeah, has zippers everywhere.
Yeah, it's all Kingdom Hearts up.
Have you played Pokemon Shuffle, Travis?
No.
It's good.
I know. And I will. I will.
You might miss your chance to get Celebi. Well, actually, you got quite a while to get Celebi.
I'll just go back in time to get Celebi.
That's right. So Pokemon Shuffle, really, really popular. We haven't seen those kind of numbers for Pokemon Rumble World. I don't know if it's doing as well or whatnot. I don't know if Pokemon Rumble World has the same challenge or gameplay addictiveness as like a puzzle game.
Puzzle games tend to be a little lower. I guess I shouldn't say lower investment, because you tend to spend more time with them, but it's sort of more of a you get out what you put in type of experience, where you could just play one level and be like, I had fun. Whereas with something like Rumble, where you're training, and I guess you do train the Pokemon as well on Shuffle, but where the focus is on training and collecting so much in Rumble, that playing for 10 minutes one day isn't going to give you as cohesive of an experience.
Right. I just think like there have been a lot of Shuffle stages I've been stuck on, or that took me a lot of tries. And when I went through Rumble, it was like, I'm just mashing A and nothing's going to be able to stop me.
And I mean, that's how all of those games are, and that's their biggest flaw is they're not challenging at all. And there's really not a lot of variety in the gameplay, but I still find them enjoyable just because I think some of them I think look nice, and I like some of the mechanics, but they're certainly not perfect.
Right. Yeah. Moving on from that. Do you like science, Travis?
I, I it's all right.
What about museums?
It's closer to my alley.
What about education?
It's I'm all about the learnings.
Well, then you're in for a treat because the Science Museum in Tokyo is aiming for a super effective education with the Pokemon Lab.
I like this a lot.
Now, you're probably curious what the Pokemon Lab is. That was the headline of the
very
article.
Curious.
So the Pokemon Lab, which opens on May 8th, again in Tokyo, is an exhibit at the Mirakan Science Museum and will have 3 areas dedicated to scientific education for young visitors. Apparently, if you're older than that, you don't qualify for the education part. One area will be home to Pokeballs with Pokemon inside to be identified. Another area will task visitors with identifying Pokemon based on their characteristics. And the third will focus on real-life scientific discoveries. Doesn't say if that last part will involve Pokemon or not.
Wait, so I thought this was going to be when you first started talking about it, I assumed it was going to be something along the lines of this is the Pokemon Lantern. It's based on a real life thing that's super cool called the anglerfish. Here's all things about the anglerfish. That would be sweet. I would love that exhibit. But what you're telling me is that it's more of a some sort of trap for children where hey, there's Pokemon here. Then suddenly in the last part, just kidding, science. Is that accurate to what it seems like?
It doesn't go too in depth. Like any museum exhibit explanation, it always sounds fantastic until you get there and then you're wildly disappointed.
I like museums.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love me a good museum going every once in a while. But when they have
kids museums in particular, like, you know how many buttons there are in kids museums?
It's true.
How many spinning things? How many brightly colored objects? Kids museums are the best thing.
The last time I went to a museum was there was at the Milwaukee Public Museum, which is a very okay. It's a very average museum. If you like Indians and like 3 models of dinosaurs, that's what the Milwaukee Museum is offering you. But
ancient.
There's some Egypt stuff.
Egypt?
I
don't. Seems a little far from Milwaukee.
A lot of Indian stuff. A lot of
My favorite mayor of Milwaukee is Cleopatra.
There's a couple. So last time
the pyramids of Milwaukee are just so stunning. Everyone should go visit.
So the Milwaukee Public Museum had an exhibit. It was called Aliens and the Outer World or something like that.
Ooh.
And I was like, ooh, this sounds up my alley. I'm all about, Star
Ancient
Trek, aliens. And they had this huge description of what it is. And Irene got tickets from her work. She got 4 tickets for the pre alien show, right? So you
could have 2 tickets each, so that
right.
So that you could have a buffer zone around yourself, so that no one would be around you.
So when we're done, we can go back in. So we take some friends. We go. It's a Friday night because it's a week before the exhibit opens. So we're like first look, blah blah blah, and we're waiting in line. There's this not that big of a line. I would probably say 30, 40 people in line to get into the exhibit. And the museum guide is like, all right, we're only letting so many people in. There's probably about an average 45 minutes to an hour worth of stuff in the exhibit. We're like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, aliens. Yeah, let's go in. So we get in, and there's just this long black hallway with like Christmas lights in the walls, so stars, right? And we get in, and it's literally one room, and
Oh.
in the room there is like a video of the Mars rover in the back. It's like, all right, that's all right. There is the head of the Terminator droid thing.
What?
Which I was like, yeah, that's not really an alien. But okay.
Yeah, this is a robot from the future.
There was some mechanical arms that picked up blocks. That's really all they did. You could stack a block tower with these mechanical arms.
I don't...
There was the coolest thing probably was the full sculpture of the alien from Alien. Pretty detailed. I was like, all right.
The eponymous alien.
Right. There was like a solar system guide. And finally, the last touch was the Iron Man suit from Iron Man.
The famous alien, Tony Stark. Now, let's take away all the context that you gave me for that story and just told me that, just pretend that you told me this list of things that you saw, that could equally have just been my friend's garage. I mean, you told me that it was in a museum, and so that's the context under which I understand it. But you could have told me anywhere. You could have told me, I found this weird warehouse down the street, and all of these things were in it, and I would believe you. I mean, it's not too far off.
So needless to say, I walked through the exhibit in about 10 minutes. And then I reminded myself that, museum exhibits are usually overhyped. Like the Pokemon Lab, while it sounds cool in this article, we actually don't know any details at all.
Nope. But I still want to go.
Yeah. The best part is if they did what you said earlier, if they like had like a box of magnets and they were like, this is how we made Magnemite. And then next to it, they had just a bucket of sludge and they were like, this is how we thought of muck.
And then they all get cotton candy and they're like Swirlix.
Yeah. But I will say, so in the article, there's a picture of Pikachu wearing a lab coat. And then around it is
I'm down for that.
A bunch of it's all the starter Pokemon. So I'd imagine, just like any museum, there's going to be an overpriced gift shop.
Of course.
And then in that gift shop will probably be Pikachus wearing lab coats that will sell for a ridiculous price.
Mm-hmm.
And that's,
and then sell for an even more ridiculous price on eBay.
Right, because it's only going to be in Tokyo. Yeah. Some more local news. Not really local, but it's something we can at least all participate in.
It applies to people outside of Tokyo.
Correct. The Little Cup online competition was announced, and it will take place on Thursday, May 14th. And you will need a copy of Pokemon Omega Ruby or Alpha Sapphire with a party of eligible Pokemon. That's going to be any Pokemon that cannot evolve. So no Kangaskans or Farfetches. But if your Pokemon can evolve...
So it excludes Pokemon that can't. So it's all first stage Pokemon.
Correct.
Excluding the ones that cannot evolve.
Right. So your Charmanders, your Squirtles, your Pidgeys, your...
but not, for
Litwicks.
example, Dunsparce, which cannot evolve.
Correct. Yes. And no middle evolutions either.
Mm-hmm.
They're
all level 5.
Yeah, so even if you're level 77 Mudkip is able to compete, it will be down leveled to level 5 for the duration of the battle. The battles will be single battles. You will have to have a party of 3 to 6 Pokemon. You may only choose 3 Pokemon to battle. Your Pokemon must have been acquired through X, Y, Omega Ruby, or Alpha Sapphire. And there's a couple other rules, but that's pretty much the gist of it.
I think this is really cool. Little Cup is awesome. It was introduced in, I can't remember if it's Stadium or Stadium 2.
I believe Stadium had it.
But since then, it's become a staple in the competitive Pokemon scene, like the Smogon scene and all the simulators. What's interesting about this is that there's no ban list from what I can see, unless the additional details list a ban list. Do you know if that's the case, Steve?
Not that I saw of.
Because the I shouldn't say quality. I shouldn't judge these little folks, these little pokey folks. But the competitive viability of first stage Pokemon varies wildly, because you have something like a Sunkern, but also Scyther qualifies because it evolves into Scizor, even though Scizor has the same base stat total as does Scyther. So you have Pokemon, a lot of the Pokemon that got evolutions in later generations end up being extremely good. So that's Pokemon like Scyther, Sneasel, Tangela, all of which, including, in addition to some other Pokemon under that category, like Gligar, but also Yanma, Swirlix, Murkrow, Meditite, Misdreavus have all been banned, at least from Smogon. And so if you plan on participating in the Little Cup, plan on seeing a lot of those Pokemon because they're sort of at the best of the Litlands. So,
Huh. That's good to know.
yeah.
Are
I mean,
you?
Scyther in particular, unless there's a ban list that I'm not seeing, I would anticipate that Scyther is going to be about on every team.
Yeah, I'm gonna click the regulations here. Do you know if there's what is usually the grand prize for something like this?
I don't know. It just says every qualifying participant in the Little Cup will receive 1,000 Pokemiles. That's the only thing on the information we have.
There are a couple rules: no Eviolite or Soul Duel, and
Yeah.
no moves like Sonic Boom or Dragon Rage.
Yep. Because those are ones that deal a fixed amount of damage, which with higher level Pokemon, I mean, that's nothing. I think Sonic Boom does what, 20 damage?
20.
But when your Pokemon are level 5, that's generally about a one-hit KO.
Yeah. The interesting thing that I read was junior players are limited between playing from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Oh, wow.
and based on the easternmost time zone in each player's country. So that's kind of cool. Good for, I guess, parents, even though they should be monitoring that anyways. I don't see a ban list here of Pokemon at all. I just saw the move list and the move list and the item list.
But yeah, Little Cup is fascinating, and I'm terrible at it. I've never been at all. I mean, I've found limited success in some of the other, like, more, I guess, fan created categories like OU and Ubers and things. But yeah, Little Cup, I am terrible. I don't get it. There's so much.
What was asked earlier on the podcast before we lost it was, are IVs and EVs just as important in Little Cup?
I don't think so, if I remember correctly, because at level 5, the difference doesn't really show up as much. For EVs, definitely there's really no difference because they haven't had enough levels to make that difference. And I don't
even
think
though
IVs
if you level them up
either.
and it got, even though you you have a Mudkip at 50 and it goes down, it pretty much kind of loses all that.
Yeah, because the way EVs, even if you got, so let's say you were somehow able to train your Mudkip in 252 special attack EVs before it hits level 2. It's not going to resolve all of those effort values, all of those EVs in one level. How the game handles that is that it records, okay, this Mudkip has 252 special attack EVs, and so it'll divvy out little bonuses every once in a while when Mudkip's going to level up, so that by level 100, it will have a much higher special attack stat than a Mudkip that trained in different stats. But by level 5, you're not going to really see those results. In fact, I think, if I remember correctly, that you don't see any at all, but don't quote me on that.
Okay, got it. So for our listeners, it would be a very easy tournament to enter with very little time investment.
Well, there you would still have to breed for moves, but that's about it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it just seemed interesting, and this
Yeah.
is singles and not doubles.
Right.
Yeah, it seems cool. So it starts in about what 2 weeks? Yep, May 14th through Thursday, May 21st, and everyone who signs up qualify for, so first 50,000, first come first serve will get the 1,000 Pokemiles. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about what you win, but yeah, it's cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool.
I like that they're doing additional formats. That's always they didn't they do something similar where you could only do fairy type or something like that?
Yeah, they had an Eevee only cup, I
Yeah,
remember.
that's what I'm thinking
And then
of.
they had the Halloween cup, which was actually pretty cool.
Was that like what was that one?
You had to have Gorgeist on your team for sure, and then
That's sweet.
and then you could only have like other ghost Pokemon.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's funny that those like come and go so fast. I mean, I'm sure if you're like really into battling, especially on the 3DS, I know some people are very into like Pokemon Showdown and stuff, but
Right.
I mean, I'm sure if you're really into battles, that's really exciting that they keep doing stuff like that. I mean, they kind of do the same for. I mean, like I don't know if they do it for Hearthstone, but they do it for Destiny, where like once a month they have.
I knew you were gonna bring up Destiny.
Yeah.
At what point can I leave the room?
Well, I'm just saying that like once a month they do a special type of online competitive thing. And do they do that for Hearthstone? I haven't played Hearthstone long enough.
Nope, not really. I mean, they'll introduce additional adventures. Like they just released they just released
What?
Zip. They just released Black Rock Mountain, which is new PvE content. But no, they don't do special tournaments or things like that. Tournaments are generally a third party scene, with the exception of BlizzCon.
Right.
Welcome to Hearthcast.
Oh yeah.
There has to be a show called Hearthcast, right?
Not that I know of. There's the most popular Hearthstone show,
The Angry Chicken, right?
Angry Chicken, yeah. I listened to probably 20-30 minutes of it. It sounds pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to listen and listen to podcasts at work because I always have to like stop and kind of focus. Podcasts to me are more of like a driving thing or like a cleaning a house kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
That's pretty much it for news. I'm probably forgetting something, but
didn't you say I had 4 news items? Didn't we only go through 2?
No, we went through Pokemon Shuffle, Gengar, Science, and
then Little Cup. You're right.
The last bit of news we talked about was Pokebeach.
The prosecution rests.
Pokebeach was actually down for the last week, intentionally. So right now, if you go to Pokebeach, there's a splash page with some Hebrew text. And
I'm sorry, what? Really?
Yeah. It's been down for a full week. I believe it comes back up this week. Don't know if it's like a new website or what is up with it, but the webmaster specifically took it down for the week, and we await the changes of Pokebeach. Us here at the podcast, we normally use Pokebeach for the TCG side of things.
Yeah.
They usually have the newest card news updated.
I like that on the top of the website it just says, so just pretend that the Hebrew below says, and then lists it. So does the Hebrew below actually? Well, I'll never know because I don't read Hebrew.
You can read it in like Google Translate, I guess.
Yeah, but it's in an image. Can't copy and paste that nonsense. Shouldn't say nonsense. It's a beautiful language.
Do you want to just jump over to Pokemon of the Week?
Yeah, let's go for it. But you didn't tell me who it is, so I've got to make this moveset pretty quick.
You're gonna love this one.
Oh boy,
you're gonna love it. Surskit.
Oh, for Little Cup. Okay. Okay.
There we go. Before I'll let you think about the moveset. I'm just gonna talk to the listeners real quick. There was debate earlier.
Just the two of you.
So when we recorded earlier, we did Pokemon of the week was Sylveon, And I said it was odd that Sylveon was 87% male and 13% female, because Sylveon, to me, seems like a Pokemon that I would want to be in a feminine form.
But all the EVs have that same distribution, I believe.
Right, yeah. There was the argument was, well, most EVs are boys, and that's why. But I'm pretty sure that there is a Pokemon that when it evolves, there is a 10% chance that it can change gender. And I can't remember which one it is, but I wanted to bring that up. Yeah, I'm out.
Really?
Melanie suggested that it could possibly be Azumarill to Marill. But yeah, there's a little fun fact that isn't completely factual, because I don't know which Pokemon does it. But yeah, I'm very confident that there's a Pokemon that can change gender upon evolution. But Surskit is the Pond Skater Pokemon, number 283 in the Pokedex. It is, from my understanding, the only bug and water type Pokemon.
I think that's the one, because even its evolution Masquerain is bug flying.
Yeah, it gets rid of that. Yep, under the trivia, no other Pokemon has the same type combination as Surskit. If you're unfamiliar with Surskit, you're driving in your car and you're like, which Pokemon is Surskit? Let me tell you. Surskit is the blue insectoid Pokemon. Its body is round and has 4 long, skinny legs extending from it. It secretes oil from the tips of its feet, which enable it to walk on water as if it were skating. It has a yellow cap with a single antenna, and that can secrete a thick, sugary syrup or a sweet scent. The syrup is excluded when danger is sensed, while the scent is used to attract prey. Its eyes are dark and circular and have small, semicircular pink markings under them. It is known to inhabit ponds, rivers, and small wetlands, where it feeds on microscopic aquatic organisms. So many not so big words in a row. Base stat total 269.
A whopping 269.
All right, Travis, this unique Pokemon, is it Little Cup ready?
You can definitely use it, and Surskit has access to Sticky Web, which is fantastic. Sticky Web being what do they call those? They call them entry hazards, yes. Yes, entry hazard. I don't know why I said it like that. Yes, as I adjust my monocle, it's one of the entry hazards within the Pocket Monsters video game. Sticky Web has the effect where affected Pokemon, when they switch in, their speed is reduced by 1 stage. Yeah, so Surskit has Sticky Web. If you use Sticky Web and your opponent switches, it makes them slower by 1 stage.
I suppose that would be good in a single battle format.
It would be quite good. The only way to remove it is either Defog or Rapid Spin. And I cheated. I looked at the Smogon moveset because you didn't give me time to make one of my own. One of the things that I'm confused by is that Smogon does list an EV spread, even though it's listed as Little Cup. So maybe I was wrong, and maybe EVs do matter. But if they matter, they wouldn't matter a lot, because it would be the difference of a few stat points. So who knows?
You know, that one extra speed, though.
Right, and I'm sure it does matter at the point where, because at a lower level, 1 stat is going to make more of a difference. So I guess retcon what I said. Smogon is never wrong. That's a funny joke. But I'm going to adjust their set a little bit. I agree with Sticky Web. And I agree with Scald and Ice Beam. I don't agree with the 4th move slot where they recommend either Baton Pass or Protect. So I would recommend Sticky Web, Scald, Ice Beam, and Signal Beam. Having a Bug Stab move would be nice to utilize that Bug type in some way. Because Bug is such a terrible defensive type, you might as well use it offensively. It hits Psychic types. And
now, if you're in singles, you really don't make that much use of Protect, if I'm not mistaken.
Unless it's a very defensive Pokemon. Something that uses, for instance, a lot of Breloom's with Toxic Heal, that ability, and Toxic Orb will use Protect because they heal so much HP a turn, so that they can stall a little more time. I realize I said defensive Pokemon. Breloom is not a defensive Pokemon. I'll give you a better example. Something like, I don't know, something that runs Toxic or runs Will-O-Wisp would often run Protect just to make the opponent waste a little time and have that chip damage increase to the point where it becomes relevant.
Okay.
But yeah, you're not really going to use Protect on an offensive Pokemon, with the exception of something like Breloom. So I don't know why they recommend it here. I guess because if you're running Scald, you have a chance to burn, but that seems a little silly.
Right.
They recommend Focus Sash, and I can't disagree with that.
That is first move does more damage, right?
Nope, Focus Sash is if an attack were to take you down to zero, if an attack were to one-hit KO you, you instead survive with 1 HP.
Oh, okay, right.
And so that's good because Surskit's defenses are bad even for a Little Cup Pokemon. So you're at least going to get out Sticky Web, which is the whole point of running.
So you want to lead with Surskit? Yeah,
or at least if you lead with something else, Surskit can be a switch in later.
Right.
Like your second switch in.
I mean, you could always throw a Quick Claw on him.
And then only get Sticky Web off 12.5% of the time. Or is it 1.25% of the time?
I think it's 12. I think it's a little higher. Now speed 65, is that good in a Little Cup setting? I feel like that's,
I don't know. I would guess that it's pretty decent, but I don't know the answer to that question.
All right, fair. A little trivia for you guys. Surskit has the same 2 types that are most effective while using a net ball. However,
that's true.
It does not grant a bonus for having both.
That's a shame.
Surskit is the only Pokemon with a unique type combination that loses its distinction upon evolution.
Mm-hmm.
Because of its unique type combination, Surskit is the only Pokemon that will resist both ice and ground type moves. Well, see, that might be good for Little Cup.
Really?
That might be good for Little Cup.
Ice and ground.
Surskit and its evolutions are the only Pokemon to be both Bug and Water Egg Group number 1. And the fascinating fact, Surskit is the only Pokemon with the base stat total of 269.
Wowee.
Revolutionary.
Huh.
So there's your Surskit. It knows Swift Swim or Rain Dish. Not sure what Rain Dish does, but
Swift Swim is going to be the better ability. Rain Dish, they're both only active if there's rain. Rain Dish is the ability where you gain HP at the end of the turn if it's raining.
Oh, okay.
However, Surskit's HP and defenses aren't high enough to really utilize that, so Swift Swim is what you're going to want to go with. Although you're probably not going to be running a rain. I don't know, maybe.
Maybe single Little
maybe
Cup
rain
team.
in Little Cup works. Like I said, I don't get Little Cup. But I mean, if your opponent happens to be using rain, you're going to want Swift Swim over Rain Dish, especially with the set that I recommended.
That makes sense. Surskit, he's pretty cool.
Yeah. I like Surskit's animation, sort of sweeping left and right as if on water, even if it's not.
Surskit is normally blue, but if you have a shiny Surskit, he's actually like a dark blue, almost blackish.
Cool or no?
It is pretty cool.
Oh.
Yeah, he's one of the shinies that isn't like a shade of green.
Mm-hmm.
And that's always good. Or Pikachu, just a darker yellow.
There's so many lime shinies.
Yeah, it's really kind of gross, actually. But that's pretty much all we have for the show. Sorry, it was a little shorter. Sorry we lost the episode this morning, but hopefully when we hit done, it exports properly here. But we're recording it 2 ways to ensure maximum listening in your ears tomorrow morning. A little bit of other news is we're going to be starting a Patreon soon. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. You're like, didn't you guys just do a Kickstarter? And didn't we give you a bunch of money? And yes. The Kickstarter was back in, September? somewhere
That sounds right.
September, so almost 6 months ago, and that money was used for the time where we raised it for, the time in which it was raised for. That is a sentence now. And so to ensure we keep up the quality and to keep up the recordings and everything, we're going to do a Patreon. Real simple though, no thrills or frills involved. The base kind of entry level is just $1. Patreon does by month, so $1 a month will get you access to our Slack community. Slack is an IRC. It's an internet relay chat. It is the 2015 version of AOL Instant Messenger.
I mean, I was only I'd heard about it before you showed it to me, Steve. Before you introduced me to the Pokemon podcast one,
Right.
and I was like, yeah, if I ran like a business, I would use it, but it doesn't seem that cool. Folks, it's really cool.
Yeah.
There's all these like plugins you can do for it, and by we I mean Steve added all the Pokemon held items as emojis.
Yes.
So you can just type : quick claw : and boom, there's a quick claw in your message. And I'm guessing that this was a plugin that was already in there, the Giphy command.
Yeah.
Okay,
Giphy,
we've been having a lot of fun with this.
Giphy, you just have to, it's like pre-built. You just add it as an integration. But yeah, that works out really well.
You just type /Giphy and then a word, and it will automatically find a GIF that fits that word. And you don't even have to take the time to look up a clever GIF. You just assume that if I type /Giphy nerd, that it'll get the Simpsons nerd
where Homer
GIF.
leans up. Nerd! Oh my god, Giphy is amazing.
But on the real though, the Pokemon podcast Slack is going to be really cool because we have different channels for breeding and trading and battles, so you can set up battles or trades or breeding convos with other Pokemon podcast people really simply, and honestly, I think it's really cool.
Yeah, channels are like different groups. So when you join Slack, you join a universal list, and then if you are interested in, we used to have what's called a Beluga chat, or we also had a Google Hangout chat, and the problem was you'd have like 90 people in there, and everyone would be talking, and then most people would just kind of leave because it was like 3 or 4 people having a conversation, and like if you wanted to trade or battle, that would be disruptive to the current conversation going on. So if you wanted to battle or trade, there are different channels for that. So right now we have the general channel, which has just become people sending GIFs back and forth to each other, which is hilarious.
Animated GIFs.
Yes. And then now we have a breeding channel where 2 people are talking about breeding teams, and they're about to exchange some Pokemon to make that happen, which is really cool. And that's what our community, the It's Super Effective community, is really good at, is just being super friendly and helpful. And in the future, maybe we could make a Mario Kart channel and be easier to organize Mario Kart tournaments, because that used to be a big thing a couple months ago. And I mean, just overall group conversations are so much easier in Slack, besides like 8 of us tagging each other on Twitter, asking if we're going to watch the Darkrai movie together.
It's Darkrai.
But Slack is really cool. There's like a Farfetch bot right now, so if anyone mentions Farfetch, the bot automatically says fetch or says far. It's random every time. What Travis said, there are a bunch of held item emojis, and I'm adding a whole bunch of other stuff. There's the cast form weather bot.
Oh, it's so cool.
Do you want to explain what cast form does?
If you type cast form and then and it's only for the states, right?
Yeah, right now.
If you type cast form and then either a city, state, or which that reminds me, city, state, isn't that a fake movie trailer on Homestar Runner? I think it is. But anyway, if you type cast form, city, state, it'll give you the weather there, or just the zip code, and cast form will tell you the weather. And why is it better than like W Underground or weather.com? Because it's a cast form telling you what the weather is.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, and I'm gonna add a whole bunch more integrations. I just started it over last week and just invited people to make sure that everything was at least working and running. But really, for the Patreon, if you donate $1, that gets you in. If you donate like $5, that gets you in and gets you a bunch of stickers. So still putting that together, but it's just to help the show because we're adding new features and we don't want to make the same mistakes we did for the last kind of 5 years. Not that there were any mistakes, but surprisingly, doing a podcast isn't free. And we've been really hitting our stride the last couple of weeks, and we want to keep on doing that for you guys because you guys are awesome listeners. But that really wraps up the show. Travis, where can they find you?
Twitter.com/TheTravisW. And if you're interested in my photography, you can find me under that same username on 500 Pixels, Tumblr, and Flickr.
Awesome. And then if you guys want to follow me, it is at Dragging a Lake on Twitter. And if you want to follow the podcast, it is at Pokemon Podcast. If you're interested in dipping your toe into our Slack community and helping us test it out, please just tweet at us.
And please do. I want to send everyone gifts just all day.
And then once we get the Patreon, that's when you can give us your dollar bills. Just your dollar bills because we only want $1 from you. Otherwise you can like us on Facebook. You can find us on SoundCloud. You can find us on Stitcher Radio, on iTunes. We are still collecting iTunes reviews. So if you haven't done so, please review us on iTunes. It helps other people find the show. So if you review us, that kind of boosts our visibility. So if you haven't done so already, please give us a review over there. And that's pretty much it. Thank you, Travis, for last minute recording as we save the show for our fanboys and gals. Oh, fan folks, our Mewtwo posse. This has been another episode of the Pokemon Podcast, and we are
super effective.